What's up, graphic designers? In today's episode, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to design something that is one of the easiest things to get from a potential client. And that is very simply business card designs. Welcome back, everybody, to episode number 22 of my Graphic Design Layout Bootcamp, where in every episode, I take a fictitious logo that I designed in my previous series called Logo Design Bootcamp, and instead of taking that logo and putting it in a folder for the rest of its life, I implement them onto a graphic design layout for you to learn. Now, if you go into any of the previous episodes, you're going to notice that every episode is something completely different. So I go from web banners to menus to gift card holders to social media banners, stuff like that. In this episode, we're going to be going back to episode number 22 of Logo Design Bootcamp, where I designed a logo called Vertical Vortex. Now, in this series, what I do sometimes is I rebrand the logo, change around a little bit. I was able to keep the branding of the original logo because I liked the way it looked, and I liked the way it was going to look on this actual tutorial. So in today's tutorial, we're going to be going over business card designs because it's literally one of the easiest things to get from any type of business or organization, because you can look at somebody's business card and you can educate them on it and say, you know, your business card doesn't have this, it should have more of this, less of this. It can be updated, more professional, stuff like that. You can really sell it, and it's the type of a project that, you know, you can get in the door with the client because it's a small, tiny project, kind of like logo designs too, because, you know, talking about somebody's business card can say, hey, you know what, you don't have a logo either. So it's one of those things that people will trust you with if you sell it the right way to them, because it's a small project. You're not spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a business card design. You know, they know it's going to be a small project, but it can lead to more. In this tutorial, you're going to learn a ton of things. As I teach you in every single tutorial, I try to teach new things, and there's definitely some new stuff in this one as opposed to all the previous episodes. And what's really cool about this series is if you click this button, you have an opportunity to download the files and follow alongside. So without further ado, let me get into critiquing this logo, and then we're going to start building it. All right, so on the screen right now, you're going to notice three different sets of two-sided business cards. There is a dark version, a light version, and a alternative color version. So that basically follows the entire color scheme of this brand. Now, that was one of the main reasons I wanted to do three. I also wanted to do three so I could teach you more. And the last reasoning is because in the real world, you're going to obviously be showing clients more than one variation of a design in most cases. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to do multiple artboards, how to set your bleeds right for print, that you're not going to have any issues with stuff. I play around with this little background texture, which is actually a vector, and use with some kind of gradient in here to kind of make it appear and disappear. And I'm going to kind of just talk about why I did certain things where, you know, like obviously like certain the colors of the type change based on, you know, certain cards. And I'll talk about that while I'm designing. And if you're noticing right off the bat why my photo's there and there's a John Smith on top, it's because when I was building this tutorial, I wasn't really sure I was going to use my photo in it yet. And I was working with this specific font for the word, you know, just generic John Smith. And you're going to notice I really changed. I actually kind of like made my own font based on this font. And I changed because I liked the font enough, but there was a couple of things I had to change on it. Some points I had to move around. So I just kept John Smith because, you know, I like how it came out. So tonight, this is John Smith from graphicdesignertips.com bringing this tutorial to you. So I'm also going to show you in Photoshop, which is my image on how to set that just like I did in there. And without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so first we're going to start with the image in Adobe Photoshop CC 2014. And basically what we need to do is we need to clip out all that green out of the background and then put a kind of a glow on the outside of that image. All right, so the very first thing you want to make sure is that this is set up correctly for print. So you want to come up to Image Mode, CMYK Color, okay? And you now want to come up to Image Size, all right? And we want to change a couple of things here. You want to make sure the resolution is at 300. We're going to change this to inches for right now so we can see what we're working with. Now, we want this to resample because it's saying that it's going to look its best at this size, which is way too big for that small business card. So right now I'm going to change this down to 5 and basically in 5 in height. So I'm going to now hit OK. And these are the dimensions that we're going to use. We're going to come into our channels over here, and we're going to jump into the green channel. All right. And the reason I'm taking the green channel is because if you look at my hair versus the background, I want you to look at the red and look at the blue. They're pretty much both very dark. So the green channel shows a lot more contrast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take this channel, and I'm going to click drag, and I'm going to drag it into a new layer. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to come up into my image. I'm going to go to adjustment and then levels. Now, this is basically to make the hair selection. There are many other ways and tutorials on how to do this stuff on the internet, but this is the way that I normally do it, that I'm used to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my levels up, all right, and my dark levels down, and I'm going to pull my light levels up until the hair looks like a nice silhouette, all right? So I'm now going to hit OK. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to come into the magic wand tool, and I'm going to click the hair right there, and now I have a selection of that was the hardest area basically to select in my entire document. So what we're now going to do is we're going to come back into the layers, all right? And we're just going to click on the layer to turn it back to here. And what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to come up into the pen tool, which is right here. And we are going to click, and we're going to start making our clipping mask, right, around this image. So we're just going to go through here. Every time you click a point, you're obviously going to, you're going to go hold it down, and then you're going to, make sure you go around that right. If you're new to clipping masks, I do have an old video on clipping masks in Adobe Illustrator. It's very good and powerful. And I have another one coming out soon in my new tutorial series on Adobe Illustrator. So let me just rag around the whole outside here. And I'm actually going to speed through here for you guys. All right, so now that we're basically done with this, we went from ear to ear. I want to make sure that my path continues to be within the hair. All right, because basically we're gonna add this selection to the selection that we just did previous. Now, yes, I know this is very rough. You can still see some green in here, but that's okay. And there are more tutorials on the internet that go really in depth with hair, but this is just kind of give you a base on how I do this real quick. We're now going to come up into here, and you're going to see path make selection, and we're going to click selection, and we're going to hit add to selection, and now hit OK. So now it's basically going to add that selection to the hair selection, which is really cool. And lastly, we're going to come up into select inverse, all right, and we're going to hit delete, all right. Now what we want to do is we want to hit Command D to deselect, all right. And what I normally do is I come into here and I make a new layer. I now grab this layer, I pull it to the back, and I fill it with, a color. So say I come into here, I fill it with, well, what do you know? I'm putting a green back there again. You'll see why in a second. We're going to come up into edit, fill, all right? And we're going to fill it with the foreground color, which is that green, and we're going to hit OK. And the reason why I did that was because now I want to add that area on the outside. All right, that little glow around it. So what I'm first going to do is I'm actually going to go to I'm going to click on my layer with my image on it. I'm going to hit Command T to transform, and I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to scale this down just a little bit, and I'll also tell you why in a second I'm doing that. And now we're going to hit OK. We're now going to double click on this layer. We're going to move the layer styles right over here. I'm going to come into just say, let's say outer glow. And I am going to select the color. I'm going to make that white. Okay. I am going to play around with my settings in here. I'm going to make it a lot larger. And that's pretty much what I do for every video. So it's this simple stuff that I do. You can even add some noise on it, which is pretty cool. I'm not going to add any on this case. And I'm now going to hit OK. See, that's the reason I put that green background back there, so you can really see this glow on top of it for right now. And so obviously if we turn it off, boom, you're really not going to see that. What I now want to do is I want to make an adjustment layer on top of this image because I want to change something and I want to be able to take it off later on easily if I need to. So I'm just going to come up into here and I'm going to come up into my levels. So I'm sorry, I clicked here. This is my adjustment layers, levels. So it's gonna make a layer on top of my layer where I can mess around with these over here. So obviously I don't want it to go that way. I want it to make it a little bit brighter. Pull the black down just a little bit. And I'm gonna undo the layer. I'm gonna do it again just to see what I'm getting here. And that's pretty much what I want. So now I'm gonna come into this background layer with the green. I'm gonna turn it off. I'm going to go to File, Save As, and we're going to save as a PSD file. And I'm just going to name it as Steven. I'll put it on my desktop and hit Save. All right, so now we're in Adobe Illustrator CC 2014. And the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up to File, New, and we're just going to name this Test Document. And we're going to name the number of artboards. We're going to specify them at 6. We're going to keep the spacing at whatever it is for right now. We're going to we're going to move that around when we get a chance. I'm going to make it in 3 columns, excuse me. The width is 3.5, the height is 2. You're going to make sure you have a bleed on it, 0.125, because in the end we're going to add bleed on it. So when you send it off to a printer, you're not going to have any issues with the printer coming back and saying, hey, you didn't add your bleed on it at all. So lastly, advanced normally isn't a tab that's open, but since it is, I'm going to say keep it on CMYK and high. And now we're going to hit OK. And basically what you have here is you have 6 artboards, all right? If we come into our artboard section, you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 down here. Now, in my new Adobe Illustrator series, all right, that I just started putting videos out for, about 14, 15 videos in already, episode number 5 went into artboards big time. So you definitely want to check that out. And this is on the screen right now are 6 artboards, like I said. The black area is the actual area that you're going to be designing in your actual business card. And the area between the black and the red is the bleed area. So when I design, I don't like to see those red bleed marks because they kind of bother me. They're kind of in my way. So what I normally do is I come up to View, Guides, Hide Guides, or Command, semicolon. All right. So now those are off. So now we're able to work with this. Now, if you don't like the spacing on how these are spaced apart, what you can do is you can come into Document Setup. You can click Edit Artboards, and you can click on each individual artboard and actually start to move them over. And as you move them, also hold Shift on the keyboard. You're going to notice that you can still move them like an actual element on your canvas. All right, with it staying in line, which is pretty cool. So say you feel like you need some breathing room between each board, that's exactly what you want to do. And when you come off and you click back and you put your bleeds back on, you're going to see they're still intact with the artboard. All right, so on the screen right now, I have basically all the elements that I'm going to need to really recreate this because, this tutorial obviously took a lot of time to actually design, and I'm not going to spend, that much time as I did designing it in actually recreating it for you. So, because then this tutorial could be well over an hour. So basically what we're going to do is we are going to turn our tools on right here. And I'm going to first, I just want to point out actually, here's the logo. We're going to mess around with that. Here is a background vector texture that I've had for a while that we're going to also mess around with in the back. And there are my 2 swatches, which I have actually added into my swatches panel so we can reuse them over and over. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to actually just select, create a box right here. All right. And we're going to do 1 card at a time, the black, then the white, then the orange set. And you'll see why in a second, well, in a few minutes. But what we're going to do is we're going to select that right there, and I'm going to fill it with the black that I have, which is more like a gray, because you can see it's not 100% black only. And what I now want to do is I want to take this texture that I have, and I want to go Option click, shift it over. So it's basically copying it over. All right. I'm just going to really just kind of stretch it and scale it to that area. And you're going to notice that, say I fill it with red, let's see, it's actually behind right now. So what I now want to do is I want to go to Object. It's actually behind this object. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this right here. We're going to go to Command 2, and now we're going to select it. It's in the background. I also have another video on unlocking and locking elements in my new Adobe Illustrator series. So now we're going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, and there it is in the red that we set it in. So now we're going to come up to Object Unlock All, so I can unlock that background. And what might help is if I show you about layers shortly after I create this background. But what I want to do is I want to click this red right here, and I want to come into my gradient. And normally when you select a gradient, you'll have a white black gradient, like a generic. So on one side of the gradient, I'm going to pull the orange in, and on the other side, I'm going to pull that black in. All right. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to come up into my type, and I'm going to change it to radial, and I'm just going to click off, and you're going to notice what happens. Now I'm going to teach you something you probably don't know. This is actually really like a simple, stupid thing, but if you click on here and you're trying to mess around with the gradient, and say you go like this, but you can't see it changing, and the reason is because you have all this blue crap going on everything that you've selected. What you can do is you can actually come up to View, Hide Edges, or Command H. All right. So this is something I probably never talked about in a tutorial before, but it's just one of these things that it's one of the, if you just got that out of this tutorial, you'll learn a whole bunch. So now you can click on this gradient right here, and you can mess around with it, and you're not going to see those edges interfere in what you're trying to do. So now what I want to do is I want to actually take this, and I'm going to come into my transparency. I think I'm going to bring it down to like 50%. All right, maybe a little bit, about 73. All right, and I'm going to come back into my gradient. I'm going to mess around right up here. Get a little bit, not too strong, not too prominent. I'm going to come back into my transparency and pull it down just a little bit. Let's see, a little bit more. Okay, cool. All right, so I got my background that I wanted. All right, the very next thing I'm going to do is I am going to come up into my rectangle tool, and I'm just going to make a rectangle. And let's see how high I made this rectangle. Okay. I'm going to make it right here. And I'm just going to fill it with 100% of that orange. And I'm just going to zoom in. I'm going to hit A on my keyboard. I'm going to click this line segment while holding Shift. And this is where you might get screwed up. Don't forget to go back to View, Show Edges when you really need to look at edges, or Command H. We're going to click this, and we're going to pull this up right here. And now I have that part of the band. What I now want to do is go to Option. Okay. Option, click. And I'm going to hold Shift while I shift it up. And I'm just going to fill this with green for right now so you can kind of see what's going on. I'm now going to click this line segment, hold Shift down, and click it. All right. You can see these turn white, the points on the end. I'm now going to be able to pull that line segment down and hold Shift while you're doing it. And let's see exactly what I did up here, because like I said, this is all experimentation. All right. What I did in here, okay, was I took my orange, I made it a little bit darker, and I lowered the transparency on a little bit so I can see that background through it. Did I do that up here? Actually, no, I didn't do that, but it still works if you do it like that. But in this case, I'm not going to do it, so it looks very similar to what I had originally. And now I have that background. The thing I just noticed is that's actually the bottom of the card. So I'm just literally just going to take this, and I'm going to pull it down here. And I'm going to actually go to Option, click. I'm going to actually pull it back up here. And I'm going to delete the orange area, because that was actually the true background for that side of the card with that the logo is going to go on. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to just come here. I'm going to go to Option, click. I'm going to shift these over here, and we're just going to mess around with these individually later. All right, but just for now, I wanted to move these over. Oops. The middle one. So the reason this got all screwed up is because I did my I manually moved my artboards before, and they're not lined up. Oops. All right, so this is pretty good for right now. We'll refine this later. I mean, you see some white going on in here. We can just fix that real quick with the direct selection. Have it line up. Cool. So now we're going to zoom out, and now I have my logo vertical vortex. If you have this file open in front of you, you're able to actually grab that logo, and we're just going to put it, actually we're going to go to Option, click, Shift, and we're going to throw it right on top of here. And we're now going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Okay. And there's our logo on top of that background. All right. I might even scale that down just a little bit. All right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Option, click, and I'm going to take this whole logo over here. And I'm going to hit A on my keyboard. I'm going to select all these points in the actual logo, and I'm going to hit delete. So I only have this part of the logo. Now when you click it, you're going to see nothing else obviously shows up because we deleted it. And I'm going to hover it over here, and I'm going to hold Shift and Option to scale this down. All right, I'm actually going to move this card over here because it's getting a little bit, going up and down with looking at this. All right. What I'm now going to do is I am going to, you're going to go place the image that we did in Photoshop into Illustrator, which is I'm literally just going to copy this over because this is the same image I was working on. And I'm going to go to copy, paste, and I'm just going to put this in the corner for right now. And this image definitely needs to bleed off the edge a little bit. And I'm going to hit, this is actually in a clipping mask right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click. I'm going to release the clipping mask. All right. I'm going to select everything in my background and go to Command 2 to lock it so I don't click it accidentally. I'm going to select the clipping mask that I had. And I'm just going to delete because I'm going to pretend that we never had a clipping mask, and we're going to do that right now. So what you want to do is you want to come up into here, and you want to just select it right around the whole entire image. And we're going to have it go right to the edge. And later on, we're going to open up that clipping mask when we need to add the bleed. But right now, so you're not just seeing stuff go off the edge and have it kind of bother you, we're just going to make this clipping mask. So while you have this box around the image, you're going to hold Shift. You're going to click My Image. You're going to right click and go to Make Clipping Mask. And all of a sudden, that's going to disappear on the bottom. All right. Remember, let's turn our bleed back on. Later on, we're going to, this is a preview of later on. Ready? We're going to take this image, if it lets me, and we're going to open that clipping mask up to let it bleed. So, but I'm going to back up, and we're not going to do that right now. I'm going to turn those bleed guides off. What I now want to do is I want to come into my line segment tool. I'm just going to simply make a line segment, and I'm going to visually center it with my eyes, like so. And I'm going to come into the stroke area, and I'm going to fill it with white. And I think I'm going to take that stroke and make it a 0.5 point. Okay, we're now going to hit V on our keyboards to jump off of this. And we're now going to take this logo, and we're going to come up to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. We're going to send that in front. Or I believe it's Shift Command, Open Bracket, Close Bracket. So you can see the different ones in here. And I'm going to now come into my type tool. And I'm going to do the simple type first. And then we're going to get into my name at the top. So we're going to do Contact Us Today, exclamation. We're going to hit Escape. I'm just going to fill out with white for right now. I'm now going to go Option, click Shift it down. And I'm going to type a capital P. And I'm going to hit, actually, capital P. Then I'm going to hit Enter, capital F, Enter, capital E. All right. So right now I'm going to build this area. I'm going to actually pull this down a little bit. This up. Cool. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to zoom into here right now, and I'm going to come into here, and for right now I'm going to change this to Myriad Pro. It's a simple font that I like to use on, especially on business cards. And I'm going to, what did I have this at here? I had, oh, wait a minute. You know what? Actually, for this tutorial, I use Helvetica. So I'm going to actually use Helvetica bold oblique. Helvetica bold oblique. All right. And the font size I was using was roughly 8 points. 1098. All right. And I'm going to select all three of these. I'm going to hit I on my keyboard for the eyedropper. Like I showed in another previous version of my Adobe Illustrator series on the eyedropper tool. I'm going to click this, and it's going to give me the same formatting. But the only thing I want to do is come up in here and change that to bold because I do not want that to be italic or oblique as they call it. I'm going to move these up a little bit. And let me just check something real quick. Okay, cool. What I now want to do is I want to select all these, and I want to come into my black, and I'm going to actually make this about 60% black. So it's a little bit darker, but you're still definitely going to be able to read it. And what I did in here was I first took this line, I hit Option click, and I shifted it over, and we're going to add information here in a second. But what I did was I came into my line segment tool, and I made 3 little lines. All right, I made them with an orange stroke. All right, so I'm gonna click my stroke here, or hit X to toggle them, and I'm gonna pull orange into there right now. There we go. All right, and you can see that stroke is way too big, so I'm gonna come up in here and make it a 1/4 inch, or 1/4 point, excuse me. I'm now gonna hit Option. I'm gonna duplicate this. I'm gonna do it once more. All right, so now we have that, and I'm actually gonna fix this. This is bothering me over here. It's bothering me on the bottom too. All right, so now we have PFE, phone, fax, email, and we're going to come up into here, and we're literally just going to do our actual information now. Hit Enter, because this is already formatted with the PFE, so it's going to be the same line spacing. We're going to do J Smith at vertical Vortex .gdt, my extension. We're going to come up into bold, and we're going to change that to light, I believe. Let's see. Or no, regular. We'll do regular and 8. All right. Cool. And then I'm just going to move these over. And, you know, I said originally we're going to use layers, but I changed my mind. We're going to select all this, and we're going to hit Command 2 to lock. Because learning how to lock elements is something, honestly, that's so important. And even after I did a video about it, you know, there were many people telling me, you know, I don't even use layers much anymore because I learned to unlock. Not by me, they already knew that, but you know, it's something that it'll help speed up your design a little bit. So right now I have Contact Us today, and this is a little bit of a balance thing. Obviously, this is going over here. That's okay, but I want to align this basically to the middle of this. So you see where the point comes down on the V. And you see these little boxes. These boxes are saying this is the center point of that text area. So that's basically where that V is going to hover right over. So it's pretty perfect and centered right there. I also don't want it to look funny where this stroke is going through the logo, because if I have it in this area right here where the black is, see it goes through the black, it actually looks funny. So I'm going to have it go through the orange, the solid orange, boom, just like so. It does go through some of the black, but that's not a big deal. But, you know, then again, you don't want these points too close to the top. So I'm actually going to pull this down, and I'm going to select this line, and I'm going to pull that down too. All right. Lastly, we're going to come into here. Well, not lastly, almost lastly. We're going to hit Option, click, and we're going to just, you know, basically copy that whole thing. We're going to www vertical Vortex, and we're going to hit Escape. We're going to turn that white, and we're just going to scale that up a little bit. And I know I came in here actually Helvetica, that's light, all right? And I'm going to come into my transparency and just lower that a little bit because I don't want it to be very harsh white. And what I originally did was I didn't have it line up with the GDT over here, but in this case, I kind of like it, where I might want it to line up with the end of that GDT up there. So you can hit Command R on your keyboard, and you can click, and you can pull a guide in here if you'd like, all right? And the only way to turn those guides on is like how you turn your bleed on and off. You're going to hit Command semicolon, and then you're going to see that green line go straight up and down, and we're going to turn them off. The last part of this card right here, what we're going to do is we're going to come up into our type tool, and we're just going to click, and we're going to type out John Smith. Cool. Seems pretty simple, right? We're going to hit Escape, and the font that I have used, that I found on the internet, for this tutorial is You Carry Mobile. All right. Now, as I spoke about before, all right, I'm going to turn this white, and you can see, look at this font, and then look what I did over here. So I obviously didn't like some things about this font. Number one, I don't like the J. Okay. I can't tell that's a J, and many people aren't going to be able to tell that's a J. All right. I don't like the H and the M and the H again, how they project down there, because it just makes everything unbalanced. So you can see everything is nice and flush right there. And on the I, okay, I don't like the I to be not dotted because it makes it harder to read personally for me. You know, other people might, you know, not agree with that, but you know, that's how I feel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over here. I'm going to fill it with black, okay, and I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to come up to type, create outlines, or Shift Command O, And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit A on our keyboard, and we are going to select all of these points on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're just going to click now on one of the points, and we're just going to pull it up. Now remember, this thing is on an angle already, so you can't just go straight up, or it's going to just, distort the whole logo. You see that? So we're just going to come, and we're going to obviously follow that angle, and we're going to get it to where we feel like it's right there visually, and we're pretty dead on. All right. What I now want to do is I'm going to come in to my rectangle tool up here. I'm just going to make a little rectangle. Try to get the same thickness as the rest of that J. Right. And I'm now going to hit A on my keyboard. I'm going to select this point. I'm going to nudge that point in with the right arrow. Or you could just click the point, hold shift, and you can just move it however you want it. And I'm now going to toy with pulling this in. Obviously, that's too short. So I'm going to pull it out like there. And hold shift while you're doing that. All right, so now I have John Smith. And to make this even easier, we're going to click this. We're going to hit Option, click, and we're going to shift that over. We're basically copying it. And I'm going to hit A on this line segment, hold shift while we're doing this. And we're going to dot the I like that. Or actually, when I did my original, I still followed that angle right there with the I. So you can do whatever you like, whatever you feel looks better, whatever you feel more comfortable with. All right. Actually, the eye's bothering me. It's too high, I think. Either that or the angle's off. Yep, that's better. Okay, cool. All right, so you don't always have to stay married to the font. You can always change it around if you'd like to. All right, so now I'm going to come into here, and I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to come into my Pathfinder, and I'm going to top left, hit Unite, because we're going to unite as one shape. So now this is one shape right here. Perfect. And we're going to take John Smith, or my alias for this video, and we're going to bring it over here, and we're going to fill it with white. All right. And we're going to scale that down a little bit. Hold Shift and Option while you pull that corner point. And now, again, I'm going to go to Option, click, shift this over. I'm just shifting text boxes instead of creating all new ones. I'm going to type out owner. I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to come into light and make it 100% white. And I'm just going to scale that down just a little bit. Cool. And then we're just going to refine this. We're going to figure out, where we want it. Obviously, in the first one, the J started by my shoulder over here, and the H ended pretty much right after my ear. So we're going to do that. We're going to scale owner down just a little bit more. And we're going to zoom in, and we're going to make sure these are pretty much on the same plane. All right. So owner, want them to basically line up together, which they basically do right there. If we zoom out, we can see that we have successfully created the first version of this card. All right, so now that we really did that first version of the card, the other two versions are going to be pretty simple to do. So what I didn't have the foresight to see, which I see now, is I'm literally just going to take all this. I'm just going to delete it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all this. All right, actually, I'm going to make sure everything is unlocked. So Object Unlock All. I can't select it. That means everything's unlocked. We're going to go to Option, click, and we're going to shift this over. Hold Shift while we're doing it. And we're going to do it one more time. All right, so now I'm going to zoom in here. Obviously, remember I told you before that the artboards were off a little bit because I manually moved them like a dummy. All right, so I'm going to pull these back in for now. Okay, cool. So I basically have 3 exact sets, so I don't have to recopy all this stuff. So we should be pretty quick from here. So what I first want to do is I want to select 1, hold Shift, 2, and these are the patterns, 3, and 4. Okay, we're gonna hit Command 2 to lock those patterns. All right, so now we can't select them accidentally. What I now want to do is I want to take this. I want to delete it. Now I'm going to take this one and delete it. I'm now going to take these 2, 1, hold Shift and grab the other one, and I'm going to turn them to orange. Okay. And you're going to be looking at this like, what the heck is going on here? All right, so I'm going to show you how we're going to fix this in a second. We're now going to go to Object Unlock All, or I believe that was Shift Command 2. And we're first coming into here, And we're going to come back into our gradient, all right? We're going to make it a linear gradient this time. We're going to take that black out, replace it with white. So we have orange to white, all right? Again, I'm going to click on this. I'm actually going to come into view. Remember, hide edges like we did earlier. I'm going to zoom in here. And I'm now going to actually, you know what I'm going to do? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this. Let me see what I did in the original. Okay, all right. I'm going to actually take my logo off of this for a second. What I want to do is I want to take this and I want to make it radial, this top one. And I'm actually going to pull the orange to the other side. I'm going to pull the white to the left, the orange to the right. I'm going to increase, mess around my slider right here. And I'm now going to take this entire piece and let's see what I brought it down to. I'm going to take this, I'm going to bring it down to 17%. So it's going to be really light. Okay. And we can even click the gradient or hit G on the keyboard, and you're going to see this big circle come up. You can start to mess around with this circle. You can pull the, you can pull the values in. It's actually really cool what you can do with that. So I'm actually going to pull this out just a little bit more. I'm going to stretch this down a little bit. Stretch it up a little bit. Okay, cool. I'm now going to click off. I'm actually going to come down here, and this is a radial, and you can see this one is a linear on this side. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to come up in here, the gradient again. I'm going to put white on the one side, and it's going to be orange on the other side. Make sure it's linear. All right, and we're going to take the gradient, and we're just going to go from left to right or right to left, see which one is going to do it correct. Cool. I'm now going to click off. We're going to click that again, and we're going to hit transparency. We're going to bring it down to 17%, just like the other one. Or 16, that's fine. All right, so now we have our background on here, okay? And what I now want to do is I want to start changing the other elements that were on top of this before. What we're now going to do is come back up to View, Show Edges. All right, so we're messing around with this logo a little bit. We're going to click this background area, and we're going to delete that. I'm now going to come into here, and let's see how my logo is structured. All right, cool. When I did the effect on it in the original tutorial for the logo, I did a like bevel and emboss 3D like extrude type of an effect. I got to get rid of that effect, but with keeping it looking the same. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you want to go to Object, Expand Appearance. All right, so now I can actually take this apart. All right, see the elements? I'm now going to click one, hold Shift while you click all these. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right, I'm going to copy these. All right, now I'm going to select everything and I'm going to delete. All right, now I'm going to hit Command F to paste back in front, and there we have our logo. It's a nice flat logo. We're going to fill it in with that black, and now I'm very simply going to take this entire logo. I'm going to hit Command G to group it, and I'm going to pull it onto my background. Okay, you can just visually center this for right now. And I don't like what's going on with this down here. It's kind of ugly looking. So I'm going to ungroup this for a second. I'm going to take all these elements, Command 2, and now I'm going to select the logo, Command G, group it, Option, click. We're going to copy it down here, and we're going to go to Shift and hold Shift and Option as you scale this down. All right, so I still look the same in this. The only things that are actually going to change in here is we're going to pull this information, my name, to the front. So what we're now going to do is we're going to select both of these and go to Command 2 to lock it. We're going to select all this stuff right here, John Smith and the word owner, and we're going to fill it with black. All right, and then we're going to select this line back here, which you can't see, but I know what's back there. We're going to hit X on our keyboard to flip to our stroke, and we're going to fill that with black. All right, and this logo is looking a little funny because it's small, so I'm going to pull that up a little bit. Let's see how we're looking. All right, so one of the big differences, we're going to go to Object, Unlock All from the original up there, was the gradient. So we're going to come up into here in the gradient. We're going to come up to View, Hide the Edges, and we're just going to actually pull this gradient even more over and make it a little bit more intense, subtly. A little bit too much now. Cool. All right. So we're pretty much, that card is completely done. All right, so let's see. Lastly, all right, lastly, what I want to do is I want to take this background, right? And let's see. Okay. I'm basically going to do pretty much the same stuff that I did over here. So we're going to come up into the gradient and we're going to make it white to orange, all right? Because that orange is going to fade into itself. I'm going to do a linear, all right? And I'm just going to go from either left to right or right to left. And we're going to take the transparency down a lot. So it's very light, like so. All right, and I'm going to take this logo. I'm actually going to delete it because I'm going to have to do all that expand appearance stuff that I just did on the other one. So I'm going to delete. I'm going to go back to View, Show Edges. I'm going to take all this. I'm actually going to lock all this, Command 2. I'm going to take this logo, go to Option, click. I'm going to hold Shift while I shift it over. And, all right. I'm now going to fill this all with white. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next. Okay, so now you're going to notice that 1, 2, 3, 4 areas need to be a little bit lighter. So I'm going to come into my transparency and just lower these a little bit to pull that out and make it still look that three-dimensional way it's supposed to look. All right. And I'm going to select my whole background, lock it. I'm going to take this logo, Command G, because I'm going to pull it back into here, delete this one. And very simply, I am going to I'm going to take this whole thing, I'm going to delete it, copy my element that I started up here, Option click, hold Shift while you shift it. Okay. And I'm going to hit Command V. All right. Nope. Excuse me. Command C and then Command V. Just scale this down a little bit. Remember, have it line up with the middle of the Contact Us Today. And with Contact Us Today, I believe I turned that black for this one. And then you see P, F, and E are in white because it just makes it look better. All right, so we're going to do that. P, F, and E are in white. We're going to hold all this and go to Command 2. Reason being is because I want to select these without selecting the background accidentally. I'm going to fill that with white. And see if there's anything else. Oh, yes. Very important. The bottom. The bottom is going to turn to that dark color. We're going to fill it with that dark color. And we're going to make sure, okay, cool. We're going to go to Object Unlock All. And we're going to select just this area right here because you see how it's going over the black? We don't want that. It looks funny. So we're going to select all this. So I have the pattern and the orange. We're going to go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. All right. And obviously there's one more thing we have to fix. Me. We're going to click Me. We're going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. All right. Boom. So now we have all 6 of our business cards. The last thing we need to do is we need to set this up for bleed. So we're going to go to Command semicolon again. We're going to turn everything back on. And quite simply, I'm actually going to just select all this. And I'm just going to scale this out to here. Even though, you know, we're stretching things and scaling a little bit, that's quite all right. The other alternative is, this is actually a very complex shape. So we're going to do that first, right? We're going to hit Command 2. Or you could now hit A on your keyboard, select the points of this black outline. And then you could hit A on the keyboard and then hold Shift and click the line segment and then pull those over individually. But I'm just going to do it the way that I want to do it in here. There was a second one up there. I had to delete that accidentally. 1, 2. Cool. All right. So, and then in addition, we're actually going to lock all this. Because remember, anything that goes off the edge is what we need to push to the bleed edge. So we're going to hit A on our keyboard, select all these points right here. We're now going to pull them to the edge, which is that red area. Same thing over here. Red area. Same thing down here with this. And same thing with me. So we're going to click that, hold Shift, and we're going to open that clipping mask up. And all that stuff is going to get to cut off, basically. All right, we're now going to come into here. Same thing. See, it's a lot of the repetitive stuff. And you know, if you watch my whole series, it's you know, it's the same stuff in every video pretty much. You know, there's different tools I introduce and there's different things that I talk about, but it's, you know, it's just doing this stuff in repetition and understanding why you're doing it too. So you may have never sent anything for print, but you're trying to figure out, you know, what's this whole bleed thing, and you know, I talk about it in most of my videos, but it's important because if you don't get it right, you're going to get your files back. They're going to have to be fixed. You're going to lose time, and people are going to get aggravated. I'm going to scale this up a little bit more. I'm actually going to select all this. Hit Command 2. Come down here, pull this over. So it's a lot of work setting stuff up for print, but, well, no, excuse me. You need to also plan it in your mind while you're designing, but let's see. Oh, here is the last thing. Cool. Now I'm going to delete all this other stuff because I don't want to see it's bothering me. All right, I'm going to turn my guides off. And now what we're going to do to prepare this for print is we're going to make sure everything's unlocked, unlock all object. All right, we're going to hit Command A. We're going to go to type, create outlines, or Shift Command O. So we're going to create all our outlines. And for right now, we're just going to save this as a PDF on our desktop, test document. All right, we're going to save it. Where are you? To desktop. All right, we're going to get some options that come up on here. We're going to take marks and bleeds. We're going to make trim marks. We're going to come up into here and do 1/8 of an inch on each. And we're just going to see what happens. So I save that to my desktop. Boom. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3. Those are the fronts or the backs, whatever, however you think they are. And then 1, 2, and 3. So boom, we're done here. That's it on this tutorial. All right, so thanks for checking out another tutorial in my graphic design series. There are 21 prior videos in this series, so definitely check them out if you're just joining the series. Every single tutorial has completely different stuff you're going to learn and you're going to be able to take into your own work. Now, a lot of work gets put in these videos, so if you can like and share these out on your social networks, that'd be awesome. If you can comment in the comment section below, that'd be even more awesome. And even more awesome than all that, check out my new Patreon campaign. Help support my videos, help support the future of my content, because there's so much work that gets put into the boot camps. I mean, 20 plus episodes that I like to do in each boot camp, and your support will help me continually make new boot camps for you to learn from. So, as I say at the end of all these videos, take the files I am giving to you and make something different with them, or make the same thing, send them to me, tag them on my social networks, and I'll definitely critique your efforts on them. And that's it, everybody. My name is Steve Looney from GraphicDesignerTips.com. I'll see you for the next episode. Peace.